Well, good morning. Welcome to Bethel Church here today. It is another Sunday, another day in which we come to worship and gather as a community of believers together, right? We are united by the fact that we have one Lord and Savior who has died on the cross for all of us, right? And so we come here to just glorify him, to praise him, and to worship him here this morning. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit here this morning as we begin. Today, I'd like to just begin with the reminder that today is the day that the Lord has made. Right? Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Today is the day that God has gifted to us. Right? And so he invites us into worship here this morning. And so let us lift our voices in praise and worship as we begin in song here this morning.
Did you hear what John said? Lift your voices. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, still my soul will sing your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship his holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship your holy name. Worship your holy name, Lord, I'll worship your holy name. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Heir of salvation, purchase of God, born of his Spirit, washed in his blood. This is my story, this is my joyful confession, I am his own, following Jesus and never alone. Born of his spirit, I am restored, challenged to serve my Savior and Lord. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. Perfect submission, all is at rest. I am my Savior, I'm happy and blessed. Watching and waiting, looking above, filled with his goodness, kept in his love. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly trust in Jesus' name. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, he is Lord, Lord of all. When darkness seems to hide its face, I rest on his unchanging grace. In every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, he is Lord, Lord of all. When he shall come with trumpet sound, oh, may I then in him be found, dressed in his righteousness alone, faultless stand before the throne. Faultless stand before the throne. Christ alone, cornerstone, weak made strong in the Savior's love. Through the storm, he is Lord, Lord of
be seated. Okay.
Or one activity we have this week is today, actually, blessing of the buses. Blessing of, I think it's been maybe 5 or 6 years since we've started this, and now we have 6 churches working together. And something new we did this year is each church took 2 or 3 schools, and this past week brought a tray of cookies, an invitation to blessing of the buses, and just a note saying, we're thinking of you, we're praying for you. And we've had great responses from that. I brought a tray to New Groningen, and the secretary said, wow, this is great. 2 things the teachers need, a treat and knowing that somebody cares and praying for them. So sometimes we underestimate just telling somebody that we are praying for them. So hopefully you can make it today at noon. It's a beautiful day. So over on the baseball field next to the buses, we'll have lunch at 12, and when we're done eating, we'll break into groups and pray for everything involved in the school year. And if you can't make it, just pray on your own and pray throughout this whole year. Bethel has kind of, the places we brought treats and for us to really concentrate on are Zeeland Christian, Borculo Christian, New Groningen, and the admin buildings, or the administration of Zeeland, which they have a lot on their plate this year. So just remember all of those schools and places this year in your prayers. Today, we have the privilege of Mark DeHaan is here from Ecuador, and he would like to give us an update. So Mark.
The clicker, is that up here by chance? Awesome. Okay. I do have a brief update on what's been happening down in Ecuador. There's been a lot happening since I was here in September last year and last gave you a formal update. Of course, I was here just briefly in May. It was good to see you all at that time. I want to give a more full ministry update this morning on what's been happening. Down on the equator. So in the last year, we've had 3 water systems that we have constructed down there. The first one being San Antonio de Quito. This was a long process of a project that had originally started in 2015. Just due to various political issues and things like that. It took over 7 years to finish. We finished it last year. Little small to read that text, but we rehabilitated a well that was in that community. There were just under 14 miles of pipe that we installed as part of that project. 3 concrete tanks were constructed, and overall 173 families were served with water at their home through that project. The next project was Azama. This one was north of Quito. This is a photo of the people working on their spring protection, digging out the area where the spring was so that we could put the gravel pack and the concrete over top of it. In Azama, 2 springs were protected to provide water for that community. 15 miles of pipe were installed. And again, the community is digging the trenches for every single inch of that distance. So incredible commitment shown by the 288 families that were part of that project, and then 4 concrete tanks constructed throughout the community to provide storage for that system. The final project was Pool San Jose. This one was really special to me because this was my first design down there. So as you can see, just a beautiful landscape, but right on the side of a mountain. So an incredible amount of vertical relief that we had to deal with, but just a really fun design for me, who's used to doing water system design here in West Michigan, which isn't quite as mountainous. So definitely a challenge and a very unique experience. They had 4 springs that were protected to provide water for their community, 15 miles of pipe installed, 11 concrete tanks. Again, the reason for having so many tanks was because of that vertical relief. You have to have tanks in each pressure zone, and so because there's so much vertical relief from top to bottom of that community, you need all of those tanks. And then 205 families served as part of that system. So over 700 families that now have water, clean water at their home. They can just, it works. It works. So that was very exciting, you know, to be able to go there and turn on a tap and see the water flowing. Obviously a blessing for the community, but also a blessing for me to be able to see that happen. So over 700 families in the past year that now have water directly at their homes, who may not have had that before or who didn't have that before. So again, thank you so much for supporting that work. There's more that's happening. Wayabamba is a project that will be starting this week. Part of the community already has a system that we helped with or that the organization started or helped with in 2017. And so this is just an expansion on that project. The spring was protected last September for this expansion. We're starting this week. 282 families will be added to that system, and that's going to be 8.5 miles of pipe. It's a little bit more concentrated than some of the other communities we've worked in. So this is the project that's starting this week, so we're excited to get that underway. We have a bunch of other projects in design, 4 more communities, San Martin Bajo. That one will hopefully start in November, December. 112 families, they had previously received water from a spring, but it had not been enough water, enough quantity of water to keep up with the growth of the community. And so what they started doing is they started taking water from an untreated river and putting that into their system in order to get enough water for everybody. And so that's where we came in about a year ago, rehabilitated a well, a dug well that was 12, 13 meters deep, about 1 meter in diameter. We rehabilitated that last September. Since then, the people have been coming to that well and getting water out of there instead of using the untreated river water. So at the moment, the water that they're drinking is clean, but we still have to build a pump system and then the distribution system for them to get the water at their homes. So they do have clean water, they're just putting in a little bit more effort in order to get that clean water and able to drink it. So the system design for that community is 5.5 miles of pipe, and we hope to start that in November. And then we have 3 other communities that are just kind of in the middle of design. Secawan Tiocajas. This is a community of 69 families. We protected their spring in June this year, so still working through the design. And we like to do this work in steps just to show the people that, hey, we're committed to working with you. We want to show that we're going to keep working with you guys. So we kind of do the spring first, get through the design, and then do the construction later, just to show our commitment, because a lot of these projects, you know, it'll be 1.5 years from start to finish, and so to do a spring protection mid-project just shows them that we're committed, that they can trust us to complete the design, follow through on the construction of those distribution systems. 2 smaller communities, Atapo, I was there last week. We had a group down from Grand Rapids, and we did some spring protection work in the community, a fun hike from the community up to the spring. It was about 1,000 feet of vertical relief to hike from the community up to the spring. It took about 1.5 hours. And so the people, they were using donkeys to carry up all the materials that we needed for that spring protection. So rock and sand and concrete or cement. They were loading up the donkeys, and the donkeys were taking that up to the spring. But a very fun hike, beautiful views of the mountains and the surrounding countryside. So that's a community of 51 families that, again, kind of mid-process, we are doing some spring protection work with them this week. And then we have this community of Huaslan Grande. This is a little bit more of a quote-unquote urban community. The houses are much closer together. As you can see there, there's a lot of agriculture, a lot of greenhouses in this community. 334 families, so this is a larger project for us. the summer interns that we had that were working with us for June and July, they did the primary design work for this community. And then we had a church from Massachusetts that helped, that came to Ecuador and helped the community protect their springs at the end of June. So along with the water distribution system design and construction that we're doing, we're also doing evangelism and outreach in these communities, a lot of which happens through the Vacation Bible School that we often host with groups. And so we really like to interact with the younger members of the communities. With social media these days, they are getting a much broader view of the world than generations before. And a lot of time, what they're seeing through social media is they're seeing materialism, they're seeing just, what it means to have wealth and what it, quote unquote, should look like to live life. And it's obviously completely different than what generations before have seen. And it's important for us to, and especially with the groups that are coming down, their view of America is consumption. It's cars, it's houses, it's vacations. I think one of the benefits of having groups come down is to show them that for us, this is the American life for us, is caring for other people, it's loving other people, it's sharing the gospel with them. And so it's really important for us to engage with that younger generation, because Ecuador, although it's heavily Catholic, has never been a quote-unquote Christian society. And so, this Ecuadorian culture is moving from a pre-Christian society to a post-Christian society, and they never had that 1900s America where everybody's Christian and everybody knows what Christianity is. And so we try to kind of fill that gap and say, hey, this is what we believe a Christian society looks like, and it's important for us to engage with the younger generations of the communities. So we really do enjoy having these VBS lessons with the communities, and that this past week that was focused on prayer, we focused on relationship with God, and so those are the things that we try to interact. Those are the things that we inject into the interactions we have with the communities. Sometimes, and so we do just VBS style lessons. We teach a lesson, we have a craft. So this was in Waslan with the church from Massachusetts. We talked about what it means to be fishers of men. And so we had this craft where they colored in the fish. We also, from time to time, we have these community worship nights. And so we do just an evening where we sing with the community, we worship with the community. If there's a group coming down and they have musical folks in the group, they might sing a couple songs, the community might sing a couple songs, and so it's also just a wonderful picture of what it means for all peoples and all nations to come together and worship God together. And then at the system inaugurations, we have typically a brief moment to share the gospel and say, it's wonderful that we are here as an organization, but God has brought us here to this place for a reason. There was, Isaiah 41 says that God responds to the calls of the needy. And so we feel that we're responding to God's challenge to us. We're brought together. A lot of the times these communities come to us, it's all word of mouth. We're not going out and soliciting communities to improve their water system. Rather, it's the communities coming to us. And so we feel that, at each and every moment, God has brought us together as a community, as an organization, to work together and to solve these issues that the community is facing. And so it's wonderful to be part of that, and we relay that to every single community that we're working with. It's throughout the process we're responding to God's call to us to work together and to improve the water systems. We had quite a few visiting groups this past year. A lot of it was a lot of churches finally post-COVID getting out, a lot of organizations joining in that.